Good morning, moonmates. I would start on just some of the basics here. So maybe this first one will be simple, but yet cover some of the supplies that you might need. I have a collection here of various types of circles, plastic, wood, different sizes. You can even use quarters, pennies, coins. In addition to that, you're going to need some little fabric squares. I've got some small ones here. This is an old cotton sheet that I just tore up. This is some Japanese silk. I thought today I would start with what I call my penny moons. All right, penny moons are little moons made with pennies. The other thing you will need is some clamps. These are pretty serious C-clamps, all right. I have a bowl of water here that soaks my fabrics before I clamp and dip them in the indigo vat. Got a little cheap paintbrush here, and I have an indigo vat right here. Behind me, I've got my gloves and also just a bucket of water here. First order of business is to take your fabrics and wet them. You could just walk away and leave that for a few minutes. For this penny moon, I've got two little pieces of fabric, so I'm going to put a penny on either side and make a little penny sandwich. I'm going to line the pennies up so that they're evenly spaced and they meet up on both sides. I'm going to put the clamp over the two pennies with the fabric in between and tighten it down. Now I want to make sure that I don't catch any of the fabric in there, which is easy to do, but as long as you're paying attention, you just pull that out and make it so it's even. You also don't want to stretch this fabric while you're doing this, because if you do that, your moon won't come out round. So just tighten that down, and we're ready to dye it. Ready to go into the indigo vat. I've donned a glove here, and I'm going to immerse it in the indigo vat, and I'm going to swish it around in here and work the fabric a little bit for at least 3 minutes for the first dip here. And this is a pretty thin fabric, so it doesn't take too much to get it through the two layers, and the indigo easily goes right up to the edge of the clamped penny. So it's been in there for 3 minutes thereabouts. I've pulled it out, and you can see it's all green, and it needs to oxidize in the air in order to lock the indigo molecules into the fiber by oxidation, which makes them insoluble. The oxygen in the air oxidizes, and the indigo starts to turn blue, making it permanent on the cloth. So you can see it's already turning darker, but it needs to be fully oxidized. So we're going to let this hang while it does that. While I'm waiting for that one to oxidize, I'm going to bump it up to this small little circle on this. It's probably about a 3-inch square, and I'll get another one started while we wait for that to oxidize. So that looks good. I'll don my glove and dip this one in the vat. If you're wondering, this is not the organic vat. I'm getting another one of those started actually right over here in this large blue 50-gallon tub here. It's about, I don't know, almost 4 feet tall, but the weather has been rather cold, and I'm waiting for it to warm up a bit to restart it. This here that we're using right now is a chemical vat. So here we go. You can see the clamped area has reserved the circle, and outside of that area where there is no compression there's the indigo. So I thought I'd try something different with this one, and that is each time I re-dip this, I'm going to loosen this a little bit. I'm loosening it to allow it to bleed a little bit in. Just a note on making sure your piece is completely oxidized. I can see in here, maybe you can too, it's still a little bit of green in here. So I'm opening up those two layers and letting it completely oxidize before I reintroduce it to the vat. So this is completely oxidized. This is the penny moon, and I'm going to put it back in here and give it another few minutes. The first moon that we did is all oxidized now, and I'm going to open this clamp and remove the pennies. So we can see we have perfect little moons here. We have two of them. These look pretty much the same on both sides, but sometimes there's really a definite right and wrong, and usually it's the outer facing ones that I use as the right side because they have the most clarity, having been exposed on the outside rather than inside the little sandwich. I'm going to take these two little moons and rinse them in my bucket, my rinse bucket. Wipe my table down just a little bit here. Put my moons on the table. And make sure that there's no bubbles underneath between the fabric and the table. If there is, then when I apply the indigo to the moon to shade it, then the air bubble underneath will show and it won't be a really smooth transition. I'm just using this little muffin tin because I have it handy here. And I'll put my lid back on there. And I'm just dipping this brush in here in this indigo from the vat, and I'm just painting on a little bit of a transition from one side to the other. Now in between each time, this has to oxidize between each application. This is a process that takes anywhere from 5 to 10 times just to allow each layer of indigo to oxidize before I apply the next one. And it depends how dark I want it to be. So I'll keep doing this off camera and then I'll show you the result. Continuing on here, this is about the fourth application. I continue to build up color on one side and just slightly bring it a little bit further out each time. This is to give the moon a round shape, just to kind of shade it so it looks like a 3D sphere to a degree. Hope you all are doing fine out there today. My little corona moon here is oxidized on the outside, and if you look, you can see underneath the edge it's still unoxidized, but that's fine. I loosen my clamp just a little bit more, and I'm going to swish it around in here. Wherever you're listening or watching this from, here in California we have a safer at home or stay at home order statewide, so only essential businesses can remain open. We're staying safe. We're in our cocoons right now. And like I said on the blog, who knows what will happen when we emerge? Who will we be? What will we be? So I poured this back into my vat, and I'm going to get a little bit more fresh, because every time I take this out and I use this, it ends up oxidizing because it's outside the vat, right? So it's getting air to it and oxygen, and it becomes ineffective as far as painting onto my little moons. Coming along. I like to build the color up rather than just make a really super strong concoction of indigo and slap it on, because it just doesn't look the same. It's not as smooth. So it's better to take your time and build this color up. It's kind of like watercolor painting, but with something that is oxidizing. So I'm going to continue this for a few more times. It's coming along now, but a couple more times. Here we go again. Maybe you can see this. Maybe that side's better. You can see the little corona taking place as I loosen up this clamp and reintroduce it to the vat. So far I've done it about 3 times, and it's just slowly moving in. This is pretty loose now. I can actually move this under the clamp. Here's the corona moon, and if you look, the outside is oxidized, but underneath the shape, the clamp shape, it's still green. But I'm going to need to remove that now in order to allow it to oxidize. So let's do that. That was really easy because I barely had it tightened. But here you can see how just the outside edge has a light indigo that's penetrated from the outer edge of the circle. So let's let that oxidize, and then we'll look at it again. So here is the little moon that is finished, and it has a nicely shaded form that makes it appear round and three-dimensional. And all of this will lighten a couple of shades as it dries. So there you go, moonmates. I hope you're well today. I've got some other moons planned for tomorrow. Stay home and stay safe.